this is Adrian. Hopefully you could hear me, and this is a continuation of yesterday's video. So yesterday I showed you how to register and how to log in, and today at the request of somebody who created a comment, they wanted to see how you could possibly uh, save a player table and get a player table. So we start about exactly the same. You know, we created a credential, so I created two get player table and save player table credentials. And if you see here, the name, get player table, gets a player on the callback, rest policy allow, and then I go into the request here, and the only thing that I have toggled on is authentication request. Everything else is off. And then I save and close, which is in the bottom here, and you don't see it, but I'm just closing it this time because I already created. And the same thing is with the save player table. Pretty much save player table, save on, allowed, and the only thing I have checked off is authentication request. So now I'm going to go to the cloud code. So I have the save player table. Here are the parameters you're going to pass in: the table name, the password, the username. This is actually the player table is actually the table that you're sending in. These are the parameters: password, username, and the table name. And I'll show a sample URL. I'll do what I did with yesterday's example. And here we are. Authenticate the customer. I authenticate the player. Then I check to make sure that there isn't an error. And then I check to see if we got a table to save. And then I go into Spark collection and I grab the collection that you sent in as the table name. So you could send any table name you want. And then I turn the object you sent in into JSON. I create a table holder, put the user ID. This is the user ID from the authentication here. And the object, the table that you sent in, into this table holder with the user ID and user password. And then I go into the collection and I remove the record with that user ID. And I insert the new record for that user ID. And then I return back success. The get player is again very similar. In this case, you're not passing a table. All you're passing is the password, username, and the table name. I authenticate the customer again here. I then grab the collection, whatever table name you name that, and then I find one based on the user ID and authentication, and then I pull the table, the table which is in user table. Remember, we stuffed it in here, JSON user table, and I send that back in the raw response. And that's basically it. So it's very similar to yesterday, except that this time we're dealing with table, and I'll copy and paste these also and have them available as a link. So here's what it looks like in Game Sally. So this is the first one, right? And this is the one I've been playing around with, and this one's actually logging in as Adrian, I think as Jose. So if I get the table from the database and I click this button here, it loaded this from the database in GameSpark. Now, all I'm doing here is saving one value at the in the table. It's 11, and this is just reading that one value from the table. If I add 1, I'm just writing to that table, and then I could save it again. And then if you go back to GameSpark, We could go to NoSQL. And you go into runtime. And you see that's my test table. Now I do find there'll be one record there, and that's for that user. Sorry, that's my dog. And if you see under children, and this is the structure of the Game Center table, property, you see that I have a 12 there. Okay. And I only have one record. So what I did, and I haven't tried this out, this one is logged in under Jose. Those are the accounts that I created yesterday. And this one will be logged in under Adrian Test. So I don't have anything, so it's not going to set anything, but I could, and then I could save the table. And hopefully if we go back to GameSparks, you see 2 records. And I don't remember how this stacks. You see it's a 4. Well, you barely can see it, but it's there. It's a 4. So that means that in GameSpark, in GameSalad, I didn't save the tables locally. If I preview this again, this is a 1. But if I click on Get Table for this one, it returns back a 4. And this one is still 12. Hopefully this works. There it is, and there's a 12. What I want to show you related to yesterday's video, when I said the URL, where do you type it for login, it would be very similar to this, right? No, this is the get table, so send table to URL. This, let's say you were doing the login, you would send the URL here, put some random table, it doesn't matter what table you enter here, and then the attribute for register and for logging in. If you look at this URL, right, actually, I'm going to show you the other URL, the get table. You can actually paste this into a browser, and GameSparks will return the table. You could see it because it's just JSON. See? And that's all I have for today. It's pretty self-explanatory, I think, maybe. But if you have questions or comments, or there is something in this video that you didn't understand, please let me know.